Bike racers of Ohio and Kentucky, I know you've missed me. It's been a long time. Where have I been? I've been sick, injured, bored, but I'm back. Still injured, but not sick or bored. Having a good time. I know a lot of you like these videos, you like to see how one might race one of these races. And I haven't made one in a long time. So I thought, even though I did really badly in this race, I might talk about it a little bit. So here we are, Hyde Park. I lined up on the front for the first time ever in any race. And unfortunately, it doesn't really work out for me. Immediately, a brake goes up the road. And I'm thinking, oh, this guy, I saw him warming up on the rollers. Man, someone who rolls up on the rollers, warms up on the rollers, they're gonna bring these people back instantly. No. This is the start of a really, really bad race. A race where I go from the front to the back. And I stay at the back almost the entire time. And it hurts. Luckily, I'm sitting in my backyard. It's a lovely night. The air's a little smoky. And so I don't feel too bad about it. So you can see I'm trying to do some work now, bring back this really early break. But honestly, I'm not that committed to bringing it back. I think, there's a long race ahead of us. And there's only 2 guys in that break. So there's bound to be other people who want to bring it back, and of course there are. So in case you're not familiar with Hyde Park, let's first start off with, what is the course like? So right now we're on the front straight. We just came down that hill, and the front straight is quite long, you'll see. Let's say you're coming to the sprint finish, and you're second wheel, and you come down the hill and you think, damn, I'm going to start sprinting now. You should probably wait. If you start sprinting then, you're going to get passed up by the line. We just crossed the start-finish line. So after the front straight, we come into this 180. Ideally, you're sort of like this. There's not too many people around, and you're able to go outside, inside, outside, all the way to the fence. Keep a lot of speed. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm able to keep all that speed, be very efficient. But it's not going to stay that way. I lined up on the front for the first time ever, but I didn't really know what to do. I had no desire to be in a breakaway. So what was I supposed to do? I'm not quite sure. I think I need to try it a couple more times. Figure out how to line up on the front a couple more times. So after the back straight, we turn up this alley. You do not need to press the brakes to go up that turn. So this alleyway is pretty steep, but it's really short. Your momentum practically takes you up. I set up very poorly for that corner. It continues going up. And finally, you come down this hill. Now what you want to do is, as you're turning to come down this hill, you want to keep pressure on the pedals. Otherwise, you're going to get gapped. So these first couple laps, I think everyone was a little bit unsure about, maybe how fast can I take this corner? Or how fast do the other people around me think they can take this corner? I was certainly concerned about that. So for the first few laps, I would tend to cover my brakes on the descent, just in case the person in front of me decided that they were going way too fast and they needed to grab some brake and then crash. I wanted to be prepared for that. As the race went on, that sort of took care of itself. Can you hear the birds chirping? So we're having a good time, really enjoying that 180. I've never been near the front of Hyde Park ever until this race today. So I've never experienced being able to actually take that 180 at any sort of decent speed. So we actually caught one of the riders, but the second rider is still up the road. And now the main Peloton has caught us. So I pull over, and that's actually my teammate, Nick Reeder. We're wearing different kits, but both representing Mama Pasta. I'm thinking, oh, Nick's going to go bridge to that guy. So I let some wheels go so I can grab a draft. This was okay. This is a decent place to be. Top 10, 15. You should still be pretty efficient through all the corners so long as everyone in front of you knows what they're doing. But then I get a little bit squeezed there. And then I do not pedal hard enough going into this corner. Fatal mistake. Get squeezed there. Lose that spot. Lose that spot. Losing more spots. Oh no. Look who it is. Mr. Pinkman. It turns out Mr. Pinkman cannot handle his bike. Now, I will say that he was the worst bike handler in this bike race. He caused the most problems, and I hope that he put some effort into improving his bike handling ability. There's the winner in red with the white cuffs. I do hope that he put some effort into improving his handling ability because he's pretty strong, and if he does that, he will have much more success. So as you can see, I have been swarmed. I now am, for all intents and purposes, at the back. I'm not at the back, but effectively, I may as well be at the back. Look how much slower we're going. Look how much more chaos there is. Look at how we're sprinting out of the corner. Okay, not so bad on this one. So, if you don't know, sometimes when you go to the back, you end up actually working a lot harder than if you had stayed even literally at the front. Literally the first person. You might put in less effort than if you were sitting at the back. In addition to the extra effort that you might put in by sitting at the back, you incur greater risk. As you saw, there was a bit of chaos a couple corners ago around the 180. Foreshadowing. At this point, I know that I've made a mistake. I have lost way too many wheels. However, I was a little bit gassed from those first few laps of quasi catching a breakaway, trying to break away, who knows. And so there wasn't much I could do about it at this exact moment because I needed some recovery. So I say my first mistake of this race is going too far back. But really my first mistake was not being decisive at the beginning. I'm still not sure exactly what I should have done. I had no desire to be in a breakaway due to some external factors. There's the crash, Mr. Pinkman goes down, and wouldn't you know it, people take some free laps. I wasn't really sure what to do. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to take a free lap, and I kind of waited too long to make a decision. This was another sort of pivotal point in the race, but I'm not going to harbor on it too much. We actually had an interesting discussion among some friends about who should have taken a free lap in that instance, because only one rider went down. No one had to put their foot down. Some people chose to put their foot down after even going past the crash. However, what we decided was it's better to be safe than to incentivize people to ride dangerously around a crash. And so in the future, if I do happen to be behind a crash and I'm impeded, and even in some small way, I am going to take the free lap. That is, if the entrance from the free lap is conducive to actually getting back on the field. If it would be very difficult to get back on the field, then I will do my best to not take the free lap and get on as fast as possible. And that's where we're at now. We're trying to get back on. The problem is the people I'm riding with are not the best racers in this bunch. Neither was I on this day, unfortunately. So we're taking corners slowly. We're not actually making up much ground on the fast bits, and so it takes a long ass time to catch the group. And every time we get to a corner, we're going through it slowly, and we're accelerating out of it hard, and it's putting a lot of extra strain on my body. And at this point, remember, I had pretty much just recovered from those first few laps where I was being indecisive. So this was actually very difficult for me. Look at this cornering. Oh my god. It's horrible. Like, he lost 15 feet for no reason. 15 feet. So I make the decision that after seeing that, I should probably get in front of that guy. So it seems like we're caught back on now, but we're actually not. There's still a gap in front of these couple people in front of me. So we still have ground to make up. So, as I was saying, my actual first mistake of this race was not making a decision about what I should do at the beginning. I didn't want to go in the break, but I didn't want to just pull the whole field along to catch the break. So what I should have done was completely sat up. So you can see that, now we've more or less caught the Peloton again. So that's good. At this point, I'm seeing completely cross-eyed, and I will never recover from that for the rest of the race, unfortunately. So in this instance, you might be thinking, all right, Mitchell, the field is spread out. Why don't you move up? Again, I am really hurting, and I'm not thinking clearly. I actually was considering taking myself out of the race because I literally could not see straight anymore. That guy who couldn't take the corner the first time, he passed me, and he screwed everyone again. He almost ran into somebody else, and he hit his brakes, and he slowed us all down in the middle of the 180. This is what happens when you're at the back. Dude on the right, orange Cannondale, CAD something. I'm not sure if that's a 10 or a 12, but we have the same color bike. And similarly excellent calves. His might be a little bit bigger than mine. There's a duck. Hello, duck. Not on the course, in my backyard. So look who I'm behind again. Dude who cannot corner. He is on the brakes. Creates another gap. And so because I ended up behind this guy, I hadn't quite recognized that he was a problem. I now have to accelerate again when I had absolutely no intention of doing so. Now there's gaps opening up. It's horrible. So I finally recognize the problem, and I do what I generally don't like seeing, which is sort of diving on the inside and sort of cutting people off. But at this point, I'm a little bit fed up with what I'm seeing around me. And so I have to take it into my own hands and actually improve my position. This is easier done than maintained, because now to keep my position on these faster bits, I have to take up space, I have to press on, I have to put a little bit more mental energy into keeping my position. This dude on the right, oh, well, he's gone now. So I'm thinking, oh no, this guy's letting the gap go. I'm going to have to close it again. But then he just drops like a missile down that downhill, and now I'm the one having to close the gap. So joke's on me. As you can see, my position is still tenuous here. There's just a huge gulf between my little group and the main Peloton, so we gotta close it down again. Luckily, we're not slowed down by that group, and so we can make up a little bit of space in the 180. So we're back on once again, but also once again, we're hurting a lot. It's hard. This is one of the hardest races that I have ever done. Not necessarily the fastest race I've ever done or the most competitive race I've ever been part of, but it felt the hardest to me. Really good turning by the group there. We did not get to the corner and then take a right angle into the corner. Oh my gosh, goodbye, Pinky. Good riddance. We actually turned before the corner, took a smooth line through it, and maintained a lot of speed. So FYI, these sort of freewheeling times on the front straight of Hyde Park, if you want to move up, this is the easiest time to move up. That's assuming you have any energy to do so. But it is the easiest time. Also, you can move up on the inside here. But if you're not ready to take this corner how you need to, you're going to cause problems for everybody else. So think about it before you do it, please. Man, there's a long time left in this race. And I remember thinking that during the race. Holy cow, we're only 20 minutes in. I legitimately thought I wasn't going to make it to the end. Look how we don't get anywhere near the apex. We lose tons of speed, and now we're sprinting up the hill. Why? Because instead of turning into the turn, we got to the turn, and then we turned. Turn before the turn to turn efficiently. Hello, lightning bug. There's tons of lightning bugs in our backyard. When it's dark out, you can see them all blinking. Our overall average speed for this race was roughly 24.5 miles an hour. 24.5 to 24.7, something like that. I'm not really sure where that stands compared to past races that I've done at Hyde Park. Obviously, a race like Tour de Grandview is going to be a lot faster because you don't have a 180, you don't have a hill, and so you maintain a lot more speed. So I'm going to have to look back and see how this compared, because it felt really hard. So this was an instance that I distinctly remember during the race thinking, okay, I actually feel okay. I should probably move up. Maybe even attack. But I didn't do it. A little advice for that corner coming at the top of the alley, not the corner before the downhill, the one before that. If you sort of go more around the outside, you're less likely to get pinched, versus if you take the inside, someone could come from behind around the outside and squeeze you, or they might just be next to you and squeeze you because they're so tired from going up the hill. So if you go around the outside, you tend to just get a cleaner line and you're able to actually maintain more speed. And then you're in a better position for the subsequent corner before the downhill. So I would recommend staying on the outside of that corner. Man, I was able to actually apex the 180. That's unusual. Had enough space though. I want to know what shoes the guy in front of me was wearing. Those black shoes. They look like Vans. But he's obviously racing a bicycle. Oh, there's a lightning bug on me. Hello. It's doing a little flash dance. I think he likes my watch. Whee! Take the inside, make up a spot, and now I can jump up a little bit. Now let's see, do I take the outside line? Not necessarily, there is no one around me. In fact, I may have squeezed someone out. So I may have done exactly what I said you want to try to avoid having happen to you as this diesel truck goes by extremely loudly. So, as I've talked about, this race felt really hard. It felt really hard for a lot of people, and that was an example of someone who was absolutely on their limit, and I took a chance hoping to get a draft off of them, but it turned out that they did not have enough legs to stay on the group, and so I unfortunately had to exert a lot more effort than I would have had to if I had just gone around him in the first place. You can avoid that sort of situation by just always driving forward. If your goal is always to move forward, you'll never have that problem. The way I race, I don't really do that, and so it can become a risk. So that corner definitely messed it up. There's these sort of like lights or something that are like in the middle of the road. I'm not really sure what they are, but I was about to run over one and I wasn't sure what would happen if I did. And so I decided that I would sacrifice a couple bike lengths to avoid potentially crashing on that sort of weird circle. Oh no, is this Mr. Lexus Velodrome again? There were a few of them, so not sure who is who. Ah, must be a different Lexus Velodrome. So you'll notice the last couple laps, I've started going more towards the outside of this turn. And I will say that this was sort of as a result of losing focus, feeling tired, feeling out of it. I wouldn't recommend going around the outside of the 180. You're much more likely to get pushed into the fence. You're much more likely to be slowed down by a rider who suddenly gets scared about turning, and so they move outside. I would recommend being on the inside and just occupying your space. In front of me is Mitchell Clickenbeard. He was someone who I had marked for this race. He won Tour de Grandview 3-4, so I thought, okay, pretty likely that he could win this race as well. I later found out that he maybe wasn't set up so well to win after a difficult week of travel or whatnot. But he was someone that I was looking out for. So I opened up the results from this race. I was hoping to see how many people actually finished, but it doesn't look like anyone actually quit. So I guess anybody who didn't make it to the finish got pulled. So I'm not really sure how many people finished, but I would estimate less than half of the field actually finished this race. There's the eventual winner, red, the white cuffs. And there's currently a rider up the road. So I'm curious if this is when he goes and actually comes across. He had a pretty good line coming through that corner, and he went really hard up the hill. We'll see if he made up any ground. Nope, looks like he's still back here, but making his way up. This takes a lot of effort, by the way. He's putting in a lot of effort to make up these spots. So it looks like there's a couple riders up the road. And in the end, there were two who went for the breakaway. But this must not be the final breakaway. So I recalled that there was that weird thing in the road, and so rather than trying to stay tight, I actually just went ahead and went to the outside right away so that I wouldn't lose as much speed in that case. Starting to be a couple mosquitoes out here. That's a little bit less desirable than lightning bugs. So you can see man in red has made his way forward. I see one of my targets for the race moving forward. There's a lot of signs that I should be ready to move forward. We're speeding up and slowing down. A person who I think is capable of winning the race is moving forward, yet I'm still just sitting back here. This is why I would classify this as one of my worst race performances ever, even though out of 44 people, less than half finished, I finished. I should have done a lot better. I do remember being a little bit nervous about my position here because these people had let a gap open up, and this could have been the end of my race. Luckily, it was really just that one guy who didn't quite have the gas, and actually, again, the group slowed down. And this might be the point at which there is the winning break. Oh, not quite yet. Oh, they must be up the road already. There's only a few minutes left in this race. Just can't see them in the GoPro. There definitely wasn't anything that I could do about it at this point, because I was feeling pretty sick to my stomach at this point. But definitely was sad to see that group up there and have this feeling that we weren't going to be catching them. You get a little bit of hope when someone dives to the front, thinking that they might accidentally just pull the whole group with them. That was not the brake on the right. That was a dropped rider. So I told my teammate Nick to get in front of me because I knew that I was dead. I had nothing to give, and he's in much better shape than me, so I let him get in front of me for the final lap here. Now, what you're going to see me do is absolutely fall apart, but if you have a little bit more energy than me, you should make sure that you do not give up once you're on the front straight. As I said at the beginning of the video, the front straight is long, and if you have any sort of sprint left, you could actually make up a ton of places. I finished 16th place. If I had any sort of sprint left from this position, I could have easily been top 10. Look how bunched up this group is. Unfortunately, I had nothing left, and that was it. It's the end of the race. Another Hyde Park completed.